The Chicago Bulls 2025-26 season was just released, and it's about to be a tough one. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. It is about to be a season for the Chicago Bulls, man. The Chicago Bulls season, the first 20 games of the season are going to be very rough for the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls open their season out October 22nd at the United Center against the Detroit Pistons. The Bulls' first 20 games looks like this: the Pistons, the Magic, the Hawks, the Kings, 2 games against the Knicks in a back-to-back. Philadelphia 76ers, we'll see how the Sixers look. The Milwaukee Bucks, the Cavs, the Spurs, the Pistons again, the Utah Jazz, the Nuggets, the Portland Trail Blazers, Miami Heat, New Orleans Pelicans, Charlotte Hornets, Indiana Pacers, Orlando Magic again. That takes us to December. It's about to be a tough first month for Chicago Bulls. Now, not every game in that first month is as tough as the ones that follow it, but it's going to be a tough schedule when it comes down to it, man. The Bulls, especially heading to Orlando to open the season, it's going to be a rough game when it comes down to that one. Back-to-back games are going to be tough as well for that one. And, we'll see what happens with the Chicago Bulls, but it's going to be a rough one. When you look at some of the things that catch the eye with the Bulls have 5 mini-series in this season. That means 2 straight games against the same opponent. This is something the NBA has slowly been doing over the last couple of years. The matchups come against the Knicks, the Cavs, the Hawks, the Heat, and the Wizards. I think that's going to be interesting enough. And also, the series against the Cavs and the series against the Hawks will be back-to-back series. So you got back-to-backs. It's basically what it works. Now, not all 4 games are in a row, but you have those series in a row. When you look at the 4 early games for the Chicago Bulls, the Bulls have 2 games where they host 4 early games at home for the Chicago Bulls, but then the Bulls also have 2 separate times where they host 6 straight games at home. So 2 separate runs with 6 straight games at home, which is pretty big. Those 6 different teams between December 26th and January 3rd. And then they have another one of those stands in mid-February from February 19th to March 3rd. So that's a lot of games at home straight for the Chicago Bulls, but that does mean that they're going to have some longer stretches on the road early in the season as well. And so those long stays at the United Center really just means could be a very rough end to the season for the Chicago Bulls. When you look at it, the Chicago Bulls are scheduled to have 3 nationally televised games as well. That's against Orlando in December, January 16th against Brooklyn, and February 5th against Toronto. So that means not a single televised game that's going to be in the United Center. And NBA or NBC, no, none of those games for the Bulls at all. ESPN Prime Peacock. So you take that for what you will when it comes down to that one. The Bulls also have 11 different back-to-back sets of back-to-backs in this season. That's up there. The Philadelphia 76ers have the most back-to-back sets. They have 16 on the season. So the Chicago Bulls have 5 less than that. But it's still going to be a very difficult season for the Bulls. And like I said, out of those first 20 games, that first month of the season, month and a half of the season, basically, it's going to be very rough for the Chicago Bulls. They got some easy games in there, and the Bulls finding that momentum early in the season is going to be very important for them. But the NBA looked at the Bulls and said, hey, you said that last year that wasn't a fluke to end the season. Now we're going to start off the season pretty tough for you, and we're going to see how it's going to roll for you at that point in time. It's going to be a tough stretch for the Bulls, and the Bulls are going to really have to figure out who they are and forge who they are at that time. When you look at it as well, the Bulls have the break. They come out of the All-Star break. So the last game before the All-Star break is against Toronto. That's on February 19th. They then come back out of the All-Star break and they face off against Detroit, New York, Charlotte, Portland, Milwaukee, and OKC. That's their first set of games coming out of that All-Star break, and that's going to be difficult. And then when you look at the end of season, the last 5 games for the Chicago Bulls are all against, not all. It's a easier schedule, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it. So we got Phoenix, 2 games against Washington, and then Orlando and Dallas, the last 2 games of the season where things could be decided at. The middle part of that season, we got a stretch against OKC, Memphis, San Antonio, and Indiana that runs from March 27th all the way down to April 3rd. So take that for what you will. But this is going to be a interesting season for the Bulls because we're going to get to see a test early for the Chicago Bulls against a lot of teams that were playoff teams last year that are shaped up to be playoff teams with some breaks in between there. But it's going to be pretty tough when it comes down to it. Keep in mind, when you look at the Bulls last season, right? We won less games at home. We won only 18 games at home. Yeah, we had 18-23 at home. We were 21-20 on the road last season. So can the Bulls better balance it out, especially with having these longer home stretches next season for the Chicago Bulls? Can they balance that out and be better in those areas? And those are the things that we're going to really kind of see and see how the Bulls end up getting to. But man, it's going to be tough, man. The Bulls do have to wait. It's not till game 8 when they have their first multi-game trip of the season. So, take that for what you will. It's going to be pretty, as far as traveling, it's going to be less for the Bulls until about game 8 for the Chicago Bulls in this one. And we'll see. 6 of the 7 games that we play at that point after game 8 are going to be on the road. So take that for what you will. One game against the San Antonio's as well. That's going to be tough for them. This schedule is it's a very tough schedule, man. Very tough schedule, but again, it balances out. When you come down to it, it all balances out. You play all the Western Conference teams twice. You play your own conference teams 4 times, or division teams 4 times, and you play other teams 3 times. So, we'll see what happens for that stretch for the Chicago Bulls. No really long West Coast trip for the Bulls this year. They have a couple of mini ones in there, but not that long one where you see the Bulls play 6 of 8 games out in the West or anything like that. That may be because of the games that they play at home. The West Coast trip hasn't been what it was like in the early 2000s where that circus trip was absolutely ridiculous. But those 11 back-to-backs, that's going to be the tough part. The Bulls in the back-to-backs last season were kind of mid in their performance in those things. So, again, take that for what you will. But this is going to be a really tough schedule for the Bulls. And I, for one, I welcome it, right? The start of the season, I'm not like Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta. Those first 3 games are going to be tough before you then go to have a game against Sacramento, which I know the Sacramento Kings aren't slated to be the best team in the Western Conference or anything like that. They have their own hurdles, but that's still going to be a tough matchup. But then you get 2 games against New York. You're at home against Philly, and then you're on the road against Milwaukee and Cleveland before playing San Antonio at home. That's going to be a little bit tough there, man. And Detroit and the Bulls are going to wrap up their series pretty early as well in that one. But hey, this is just one of those opportunities that the Bulls are going to have a lot of chance to prove. If they wanted to prove that last season was not a fluke, this is their opportunity to do that. And we'll see if the Bulls can do that, because if this team comes out and if they can start off the season anywhere near 500, and I even say go as low as 3 to 4 games below 500 over the first 22 games, if they can stay and hover around that shapes up to be pretty well for you, because then your schedule eases up some before it gets difficult again. And so we'll see what happens with that. But there are some very intriguing things that are happening in this series for this in the season for the Chicago Bulls, man. 82 games, 41 at home, 41 on the road. Of course, the Bulls have the NBA Cup. We'll get a couple of games added back onto that if the Bulls don't advance to the knockout round in the NBA Cup. But man, hey, good there. The games against Cleveland are going to be tough as well. Like you get Isaac Okoro gets his revenge game in Cleveland on as early as it's going to be November 8th when that one comes down to it. Let's see when does Dallas come in town? Get to see Cooper Flag. The Cooper versus Matas thing is another one that I think a lot of teams are going to be looking at. Dallas comes in town to Chicago on January 10th. That's the first time that Cooper Flag will play at the United Center. Matas Buzelis, Cooper Flag. My boy C-Dub thinks that Matas Buzelis is a better player than Cooper Flag. So can't wait to see how that one shakes out for us and how that goes. And then we don't play Dallas again to the last game of the season. So, we don't get to see Cooper Flag versus Matas a lot, especially with us being in the East, them being in the West. But that's an intriguing matchup as well for these teams. And then the trade deadline. Of course, the trade deadline is going to be around early March. You get the All-Star break right before that. And we're going to see how the Bulls, if the Bulls end up doing anything. I think a lot of how this record looks up until that point could determine that. And a slow start, early finish, whatever it is for the Bulls, like Bulls can't to me, you can't get off to a super slow start. I don't want to see the Bulls get out to starting off the season like 6-12. Like, I really would like to avoid that if you can, because that's something that could definitely, again, you got to trust the team, and teams go through hurdles. Teams learn things, and we'll see what the team does in that case. But, if you get out to a slow start like that, it's kind of difficult sometimes for when you're not the better team in the league to overcome some of that. So we'll see how they go in that. But, the mini series are important. The back-to-backs that the Bulls play, 11 back-to-backs on the season. There's going to be a pretty tough number of back-to-backs for that team. But overall, when you look at the schedule, let me know what stands out to you guys on that schedule. Only 3 nationally televised games as it stands right now. Keep in mind, the NBA has gone to a flex schedule. So if the Bulls do come out and they surprise and they look better than what most people were expecting the Chicago Bulls to look this season, if they do come out and look better than that, you can get more games flexed. No NBA TV games as it stands right now. I do expect with the Bulls' play style and some of the interest around the team, maybe that to change a little bit, but we shall see. Let me know what you guys think on everything down below. Make sure you're following us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See red, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.